Get back.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Few. It is Medal Monday. We're giving out medals to the absolute best performers of the week and the absolute worst performers of the week. I am Stone Darrow, the Fantasy Few, along with Mason Reed and Paul Cotton. As usual, before we get into today's video, I want to ask if you guys could like the video if you enjoyed today and subscribe to the channel. It helps us out very much. And comment down below who your heroes and zeros of the week were. And without further ado, we are just going to jump straight into the Fantasy Zeros of the week. These are the guys who performed at the absolute worst. You know, you expect them to be really good this week, and they weren't. And, you know, we're not going to spend much time on them because they don't deserve the time. So we're just going to go ahead and start. We said our last place of the three nominees was Terry McLaurin, who had 3 catches for 22 yards, 5.2 fantasy points in PPR. Obviously, a week to forget from Terry McLaurin. But didn't matter because they got the job done against Las Vegas, and it sucks to see Logan Thomas going down again, but that will help Terry McLaurin's stats in the future.
Very sad.
And then we had a tie for the zero of the week, 1A, 1B. It's your ultimate duo of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Kelce had 3 catches for 27 yards, and Hill had 2 catches for 22 yards. There's not much to be said about them. Just a bad week, even though they still trounced the team they played against this week. So I don't know. It's weird to see them winning a game. Yeah, I don't know why I'm playing. Denver's just such a forgettable team. I'm just like, I don't really care about this team.
I mean, the game was kind of forgettable as well. So.
Yeah, it was. Darrell Williams was their offensive powerhouse in that game, I'm pretty sure. So, not a game to remember. Kansas City won. Daniel Sorensen finally got a touchdown of his own for all the ones that he allowed all year. Not much to say about that game. Those are our winners of the zero of the week. But let's just go into the underdog. These are guys that you don't expect to perform very well, people that you weren't starting, people that aren't rostered in very many leagues. And I want to start with number 3, Russell Gage. This was my guy before the week started. I don't know if I talked about him here specifically on the show at all, but Russell Gage, I picked up in a league where my receivers are decimated. All my starting receivers are now hurt. I draft heavy receivers every single week, so I haven't had a chance to do this all year where I actually get to go and play receivers off the waivers. So I got to test my fantasy knowledge to see if I started the right guy, and I picked Russell Gage's 11 catches for 130 yards. He did have that fumble. It was pretty good defensive play, though. The guy caught up from behind him and just punched it straight out, so I'm not taking much away from Russell Gage there. Still a great fantasy performance against Tampa Bay. I mean, Tampa Bay's defense has been pretty well in the air as of recent, but I think that was I thought it was a safe play, in my opinion. But
that was a great play, Stone. No, we talked about it, and you made the right call. I'm going to go ahead and go with the second guy on the list. It's Dallas Goedert. The dude's been playing okay this year. But if you started him last week against the New York Football Giants and you were scared because he got about a half a point, okay? And then you look at yesterday against the Jets, he had 25 fantasy points, guys. Or no, 28, right?
Yep, 28-5.
28. Yeah, sorry. I looked at something else. He did phenomenal. That hookup with Gardner Minshew was fantastic. I loved every minute of it. I had him starting in a league, a big league of mine, and I was going nuts. I was super excited. So Dallas Goedert is startable each week, but you guys might not have started him after the last few weeks just because he's been iffy. But he was definitely a nominee for one of our underdog performers. But that's about all I got to say on that.
Yeah, just real quick on him, definitely his best game of the season. I think his highest before that was 16 points. And going into number 1, this guy only scored 24.8 fantasy points. You're probably thinking, well, Dallas Goedert had 28. Why did you go with him? And that's because Amon-Ra St. Brown, he caught the game-winning touchdown for the Lions' first win of the season. Absolutely massive for them as a team right now. The camaraderie, it's their first win since I think week 13 last year at Chicago. Again, I hate saying that because that's Stafford. He let it come back against the Bears, almost crushed our playoff hopes. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 10 catches, 86 yards, and a touchdown. We'll speak more about him later, though.
I will say, I know this is our Monday Medals video, and I'm speaking for our Tuesday waivers, but Amon-Ra St. Brown put a claim in for him. I'm just going to say that on this video right now. This guy,
we'll say it again,
talented.
baby.
He's very talented. All right. Now, we got a lot to talk about for the weekend workhorses. There were so many people to nominate for this that we ended up with a top 3, but we had 8 people total, so we have 5 little honorable mentions to go through before we get to the top 3. Number 8 was Javonte Williams, 102 yards, 6 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Absolute beast. He was playing without Melvin Gordon, and he finally got to get unleashed this week, and we definitely saw what he was capable of. Number 7, Jonathan Taylor, 143 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's Jonathan Taylor. What more do you expect at this point? He played against Houston's defense, so we kind of expected this to happen. Cooper Kupp, again, 8 catches, 129 yards, touchdown. We expect this to happen. Kupp has been absolutely dominant this year. David Montgomery, 2 Bears fans here, me and Paul. So 90 yards, 1 touchdown, 8 catches, 51 yards. David Monty, feed that man. Chicago honestly could have won that game against Arizona had they fed him more and kept the ball out of Andy Dalton's hands, to be honest. They only lost by 11.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the Bears actually played a good game, and it was largely in part to David Monty. And then number 4 was T. Higgins, 9 catches, 138 yards, and a touchdown. He had 28 fantasy points. And we'll just move right into the Weekend Workhorses Awards. And we got number 3. It's Deontay Johnson.
I'll take this one away because that's my dog, and I know you always talk crap about Deontay Johnson. Dude has been super reliable all year. He has been super reliable. And you know why he's reliable? He's got a crappy – well, I don't want to call Big Ben crappy, but he's just not that good anymore. Okay, he used to be good. Now he's not.
Crappy.
Yeah, okay, sorry, he's crappy. No, guys, Deontay Johnson does the work. He gets open. He is kind of like how Antonio Brown used to be, okay? He had a wide open touchdown catch yesterday. That was awesome. Then he ran a nasty little squirrel route, got open in the end zone, got another touchdown. Paul was messaging me the whole time, just horribly mad because we were going against Deontay Johnson League, but I also had Deontay Johnson League, so I was kind of happy. Didn't really care that much. But yeah, Deontay Johnson comes in the list at number 3. Good job, Deontay. All right, move on to number 2.
Oh, yeah. So kind of what Mason just spoke about, to offset those 30.5 fantasy points, we in the same league, in the same game, we played Chris Godwin. He had 15 catches for 143 yards. It made me happy. That's his first. I mean, obviously, it's not his first real big blow-up game this year because I think he's encroached 30 points more than once. But a lot of that time is because of the touchdowns that he produces. In this game, he had 0, but he had 15 catches. Absolutely incredible. He was there for Brady 100%, and he kind of just carried that game.
Yeah, no, I love Chris Godwin. I've drafted him in the 3rd, 4th round in most leagues, I think, this year, and you guys were calling me crazy. I remember when I was taking him where I was in drafts, and I'm just like, I don't see how Godwin can be falling this late, and he's been a top 10 receiver easily all year long. I think he's had like 2 bad games, and outside of that, he's averaging 20 fantasy points a game in PPR. Absolute stud. But who's more of an
You've been a huge
stud?
Man. I was just gonna say you were huge on Chris Godwin all year, and I will give that. But it's because Antonio Brown has been out. Sorry, keep going.
I was going to say, you ruined my transition. You know who else is an absolute stud at the receiver position?
My bad.
Jay Jetta's Justin Jefferson. He's our winner of the Weekend Workhorse. I don't really have much to say about him. 11 catches, 182 yards, and a touchdown. I mean, do you even expect him to not do that on a weekly basis anymore? Justin Jefferson, man, it's his 2nd year in the NFL, and he is already, in my eyes, in the top 5 receiver conversation. He should be.
Thielen went down after 1 catch.
Yep. As soon as Thielen went down,
one catch or one.
Even without Thielen on the field, no Dalvin Cook, no Thielen. Justin Jefferson is still producing these kinds of numbers. Justin Jefferson, man, the guy is incredible. He's a great route runner, so fast, sure hands. I mean, dude can do anything. He just reminds me. He doesn't remind me of anybody really. He's just his own receiver. I love him. Justin Jefferson's an absolute stud. I don't know if you guys have anything to say about him.
I will say,
right on the head.
I think this is the second time in the last 2 or 3, not last 2, but the last 3 weeks that he's put up numbers that were pretty similar to this. I think he had like 140 yards last time and 2 touchdowns or something. But yeah, he's on an absolute tear, and that was also with Adam Thielen on the field at the time.
Comment down below if you think he might be in that top 5 receiver conversation. Like I think he's starting to open some eyes and crawl up into that top 5. I think it's definitely
Cooper Kupp's still number 1.
Yeah, I'm talking. Come on now. We got Devontae Adams and DeAndre Hopkins up there, homie. I'm not talking fantasy points. I'm talking in general.
Dude, Cooper Kupp is the man.
Cooper Kupp's in the conversation. I'll put him up there too, though. He's a stud. But before we get into our, actually, I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of things. We still got the Gunslinger Award. We got to talk about the Gunslinger Award. And number 3, I can't skip out on this guy, Paul. You're talking about him, right? This is your guy, or is it Mason?
I love Jared Goff. Just kidding. No, I hate Jared Goff because he made me so sad. I've talked so much ill things about Jared Goff on this podcast / YouTube channel that I'm gonna have to give him some love on this. While he did make some questionable plays early on, it was like a 4th and 1. They were on their own side of the 50. Jared Goff, it was like 4th and 1. I don't know what they did. They could have just handed it off to Jamal Williams, but Jared Goff like fumbled it, and then the Vikings got the ball back, and blah blah blah, whatever. But that was at the end of the game. But at the very end of the game, Jared Goff drove this team down the field and threw that touchdown to Amon-Ra St. Brown. And he showed why he was originally a number 1 overall draft pick. And if you guys watched the game, at the end, Jared Goff was like screaming, and he ran over to Dan Campbell, and they were like hugging each other. And it was just like, oh my God. That's the first time they've ever won in their career.
So
but anyways, it was. No, but it was honestly, I liked watching that. Good for the Detroit Lions. They deserved every bit of that. That is why Jared Goff made our top 3 gunslingers. I'll go ahead and give it off to you guys now.
Yeah, before I get into number 2, I just want to say like a big congrats to like the Lions, and especially Dan Campbell dedicating the game ball to the Oxford High School where the recent school shootings took place. I thought that was extremely cool of him to do, and that was the right thing to do. Dan Campbell, man, really he's a real one. He really is. Moving into number 2 position, we got Justin Herbert. He had 317 yards, 3 touchdowns, did have an interception. But, I mean, if you look at his stats, yeah, obviously he's like a gunslinger of the week, and his team kind of killed Cincinnati. But that was such a weird game. I mean, the Chargers up 24-0. They let Cincinnati come all the way back to 22-24. Yeah. And then the game ends 41-22. So it's just like all over the place. But if you're looking at the stats, Justin Herbert had all of that like with 7 minutes left in the second quarter. After that point in the game, really didn't do anything at all. I mean, he had all 3 touchdowns very early, all of his yards pretty much very early. Like, I'm a huge Justin Herbert lover, don't get me wrong. He's been like one of my MVP candidates all year. He's been my favorite for the award all year. And this is obviously going to help his case and maybe move him up a little bit. But I don't think he got it done the whole game. I think, but then again, it wasn't needed at the end of the game. The defense took over. I mean, so I don't know. Justin Herbert, I think, doesn't deserve the win just because he wasn't as effective in the second half as obviously the number 1 guy is going to be. And Paul, if you want to talk about the number 1 guy, that's been your guy all year in the MVP race.
Yeah, just real quick, though, I want to talk about Herbert. His numbers could have been a lot better, simply because I believe he had a 44-yard pass to Jalen Guyton that ended up at the 1. Then Austin Eckler ended up just carrying that in, so that could have been an extra touchdown for him. And then the defense, like you said, they kind of picked it up when Cincinnati came storming back in that game. They had a fumble recovery from Joe Mixon, took it to the house. So Justin Herbert just really wasn't needed at the back half of the game. But getting into number 1, GOAT, TB12, Tommy Terrific. I don't care what you call him, but you have to call him the Gunslinger of the Week. You got to call him MVP. He is just absolutely murdering teams right now. 38 for 51, 368 yards, 4 touchdowns. Yeah, he threw a pick 6 to a defensive end or defensive lineman, whatever it was. But 28.6 fantasy points. This man, at the age of 45, is just killing it. He's still slinging the ball like he was 22 again. I really don't have much more to say. The ball like this when he was 22. Again, it doesn't matter. He's getting better with age. He's like
a fine wine, baby.
Getting better with time. But yeah, I mean, I really got nothing else to say on it. It just Tom Brady continues to amaze me.
I just want to throw a quick thing in on that interception. Yeah, obviously Tom Brady threw it to a spot he probably shouldn't have thrown it because that defensive end was there. But why are they passing the ball with 20 seconds left in the half when they're like on the 10-yard line anyways? I know you're
because they play like they're playing Madden.
I know your offense is high powered, but Madden. Come on, man. That's just knee the ball. Come on, that's just stupid.
You know why? Because Tom Brady don't take his foot off the gas.
I don't think that was Tom Brady's. I don't think that was Tom Brady's call. I think that was Leftwich's call.
Tom Brady's always been like that.
Well, yeah,
Tom Brady's that's Tom Brady's call. Bruce Arians probably called in a draw or a run, and Tom's like,
Brady's like, nah.
I like this defense a little bit better. I'm gonna take a shot here. And he goes, okay, pick, that's fine. I still got 4 tutties.
He said he needed to take a shot and they'd throw a screen pass. Nah, come on now, stupid play call all around. we're going to move into our regrettables before we get into our hero of the week. We'll start with Mason with the regrettables. And just so you guys know, we're constituting regrettables as a person you started in your fantasy league that you definitely regretted starting because they performed poor.
I'll just go ahead and get this out of the way, guys. I could have started Michael Gallup or Logan Thomas in my flex, and I left Christian Kirk in my flex. And if you guys pay attention, the week before, I was like, oh, I'll put Christian Kirk in your flex. He's playing Chicago's D. It's going to be fine. Well, little did I know, the weather was going to be horrible. It was rainy. It was cold, not favorable for passing conditions. Christian Kirk went out and got a whopping 1 catch for 4 yards, crushed my fantasy hopes. Christian Kirk, I'm sad at you. Don't talk to me. Don't just get off my fantasy football team. That's all I have to say. You are my number one regret of the week. Let's go ahead and move on.
Oh, yeah, I'll get into mine. But real quick, I just want to throw some shade. Chicago. Woohoo! Way to shut down Christian Kirk. One guy on that entire team. My regrettable is going to be Rashad Bateman. I've started him the last couple weeks in one of my leagues. He's gotten me minimal points here and there. I think like 5 points, 7 points. The low end of what I consider to be acceptable. But he had 0 targets this week. He had obviously 0 points based on those 0 targets. No catches, no nothing. Big old goose egg. And in one of my leagues, which thankfully I've already sealed the deal on it, I have Matt Breida on my bench. And I know we've all been talking Matt Breida up. We've seen him do it for 2-3 weeks now. And instead of playing him, which I probably should have, I decided to go with Rashad Bateman again. And he completely burned me.
Yeah, and I think that's largely in part due to a conversation that Mason's not willing to have with us yet about Lamar Jackson not being in the MVP race anymore. But I'm going to move into my guy. Again, this is like crunch time, fantasy playoffs implication type leagues. I decided, because Alvin Kamara got ruled out, that Mark Ingram would be the safe play this week for a nice, easy 15 points, because that's what he's been doing without Alvin Kamara in the picture. Nope. 10 runs, 28 yards, and a catch for -2 yards. Are you kidding me, man? Are you kidding me? You're going to get me 3.6 fantasy points? The rest of my team is hurt and on bye week. I have Rodgers and Devontae Adams on bye week, man. And I still managed 148 points in this league, which is, it's kind of a medium scoring league. Like, that's a good week for a team right there. Still managed 148 points with that 3-point dud from Ingram. And I'm going to lose because of it. Because I could have put someone like Dalton Schultz there instead, and that would have gave me 6 more points. 154 points. I mean, I might still lose even if I had him in my lineup, because I'm playing against Dawson Knox and Matt Breida tonight, and they just need to beat me, but they need like 3 points to beat me right now. But I don't know, man. It's still a shame that Mark Ingram went out and did nothing. If he did what he was supposed to, I think I could have pulled off the win in that league and then maybe made the playoffs next week. But it's all right. That's why they're the regrettables. All 3 of them lost us leagues this week. That's for sure. Now, moving on to our final award, the Fantasy Hero of the Week. Is anybody else in question, man? He ran the tightrope for one of his huge touchdowns. It's George Kittle. 9 catches, 181 yards, 2 touchdowns. Me and Mason suffered firsthand experience of this man's wrath. Escaped with the win we did somehow. I don't know how. This man almost single-handedly took us out.
Escaped with the win somehow we did.
I thought it when I said it, I'm not going to lie. But I don't know, man. 40 fantasy points. A lot of you guys needed him to show up. He hasn't been doing it as of recent, and he might have gotten you those wins that are going to get you into the playoffs. Me and Mason escaped the wrath somehow. Don't know how. We had Justin Herbert and Keenan Allen.
We're still in! We're still in, baby! Let's go!
Can I give you guys a quick stat real quick? I guess it's not much of a stat, but do you remember a couple weeks ago when not Joe Mixon, Jonathan Taylor had his 52 or 54 points or whatever it was?
Who would forget that? I'm sorry.
Listen. I'm not done yet. And then Austin Eckler in the same game had about 42 or whatever he had, 48. With you guys saying you survived George Kittle like that, it just made me think back to, I think it was Matthew Berry from ESPN. He posted that it was a lineup, and somebody had both Jonathan Taylor and Austin Eckler, and they still lost.
Oh, how do you lose that, man?
Lost.
That is nuts.
Bro, that's 90 points from 2 players.
Yeah, absolutely
hilarious.
crazy. So you saying that you guys kind of survived George Kittle putting up that
Like
40
that
plus,
ain't nothing.
No, it's not. But that's just what it reminded me of because I seen it on I think it was Instagram or Twitter a couple weeks ago, and I was just like, that's like I don't even know how. Like I would
That's
probably
awesome.
quit fantasy if that happened to me.
Yeah,
I
I think
had
I would
those two
just throw
players
in the
and
towel.
still ended up losing.
It's
like
time,
I'm retiring.
It's time to retire from fantasy football. Time to retire from being fantasy football little gurus. We are here. But somehow we make it away from George Kittle this week, me and Mason do. So, it was a good week for us. Obviously, the man's a stud. And he finally had the chance to showcase his skills for what seems like the first time this year. But yeah, that's it for Meadow Monday. Those are all the awards that we handed out. Comment down below if you agree or disagree with any of them, if there's people that we missed on there possibly. Like the video if you enjoyed today's content, like I said before, and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy everything. We post videos Monday through Friday. We have a set schedule. Tomorrow is the waiver target Tuesday, so be sure to not miss that. But that's all I got to say today, so I'm going to give things over to Mason, and he is going to kick us out of here.
Fantasy Few out, baby. Let's go.